What if I told you that letting your cows eat grass now counts as a constitutional right? Well, in South Africa, apparently it does, because the Constitutional Court just ruled that stopping someone from grazing cattle can be the same as evicting them from their home. This isn't a joke, it's law. Let's get into it. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Newsflash. My name is Emilio. Thanks for tuning in. I think you will find this episode just as interesting as my documentary Stolen Ground. And this story is an example of just how deep the attack goes on property rights in South Africa. Which is why I am also going to investigate Hermanus and Grabau. Those land invasions were quite intense, but I need your help to do so. Help me expose the truth about land grabs in South Africa. Follow the links in the description or pinned comment. BackaBuddy accepts donations from anywhere in the world. And if you want to use EFT, then the EFT details are now available in the description and pinned comment. Thank you so much for your support. It really is greatly appreciated. And if you haven't yet, check out the first documentary, Stolen Ground, also linked in the description. Today we're talking about a groundbreaking court case, not because it made sense, but because it might just have moved us one step closer to legalized land expropriation through the back door. What am I talking about? Well, let's rewind a little bit. The Extension of Security of Tenure Act, or ESTA, was passed in 1997. The ANC government introduced it to protect Black South Africans who were living on farms, often generationally, to protect them from being kicked off the land with a legal process. In short, if you were living on someone's private land with the owner's permission, even if it was informally, you couldn't just be evicted. The landowner had to go through a court process and prove just cause. Noble intention? Yeah. Legal quagmire? Also yes. Because while ESTA was meant to protect residents, it's been used to blur the lines between residents and ownership. Sound familiar? And this new ruling might have just taken that to the next level. Three brothers, Magalone, Topis, and Dokotos Meraki, live on a farm in the northwest. Their mother worked there for decades. When she passed, they stayed on under ESTA. For years, they grazed the cattle on that property, as many rural families do. The Malardoro Trust, which owns the farm, said, "Hold on, boys. You can live here, but that doesn't mean you can run a cattle ranch on our lawn." They took the matter to court, and that's where things got weird. First, they went to Land Claims Court in 2022, and Judge Susanna Cohen rules that the brothers had tacit consent to graze cattle. She says ESTA must be interpreted generously, especially considering our history of land dispensation. Stopping grazing equals eviction, which equals that the owner must go through a court process. Then they went to the Supreme Court of Appeal in 2023, and they said, nope. Tacit consent isn't enough. The brothers didn't prove that they were expressly allowed to graze cattle. Also, the mom's grazing rights didn't just transfer magically to the kids like a family heirloom. And then they went to the Constitutional Court in August of 2025. And the court said, you're both kind of wrong. Specifically, Justice Owen Rogers made that ruling, but ultimately he rules in favor of the brothers. His reasoning? ESTA Section 8, which deals with eviction, is ambiguous, but must be read as including the right to use the land. That includes cultivation, grazing, and maybe next weekend, braais and splash pools. But here's what ESTA actually says in plain English.
Listen properly.
Section 3, you're an occupier if you live on land with the owner's consent. Section 6, you have the right to reside peacefully and use land for family life subject to agreements and law. In Section 8, if the owner wants to terminate your right of residence, they must go to court. The confusion lies in Section 8 because it talks about residence, not land use. But Section 6 talks about use without saying how to end it.
I'm very confused.
So Justice Rogers pulls a legal Uno reverse and says, if you can't stop someone from living there without a court order, you can't stop them from using the land either, including for grazing cattle. And just like that, property rights became conditional on whether someone once smiled and nodded at your cow.
What the hell
was even that?
Here's where this gets murky. The court said that tacit consent, implied approval based on long-standing behavior, is presumed. So unless the trust could prove that grazing was never allowed, the brothers win. Think about that. The burden of proof now lies with the landowner, not the person using their land. It's no longer innocent until proven guilty. It's now evicted unless you can prove the cow was trespassing. And this is where it gets serious. This ruling sets a precedent, not just for grazing cattle, but for the broad use of land rights under ESTA. What happens when someone starts planting crops, building additional structures, charging rent to others, running a full-blown business? If use is now protected under the same standard as residence, then owners have even less control over their land, even when there's no written agreement. This isn't just legal protection, it's creeping occupation rights, with the courts slowly expanding what ESTA means without Parliament ever updating it. Listen, I'm all for protecting the vulnerable, but at some point we have to ask, when does protection become confiscation? Because if I can't say who grazes cattle on my land, or even stop them without a lawsuit, do I really own it anymore? This ruling might seem small, just 3 brothers and some cattle, but the legal precedent is enormous. And here's the kicker. The court even hinted that ESTA itself is poorly written. Rogers called it internally inconsistent. Translation? We don't know what it says either, so we'll make it up as we go along. This is what happens when ideology drives law instead of clarity. Today it's cattle, tomorrow it's cropland, and soon we'll be asking if land ownership is just another illusion, a piece of paper that only works until someone else wants your grass. ESTA and the Pi Act are 2 of the most controversial laws when it comes to property rights in South Africa. We've seen how the Pi Act played a direct role in the land invasion at Tygerberg Raceway, something I exposed in my documentary Stolen Ground. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. Link is in the description. But the question now is, what other laws are enabling these illegal land occupations? Is ESTA the legal fuel behind the Grabouw invasion, for example? Or is it part of a bigger pattern? The reason we're seeing land grabs spread across the country? One thing's clear, I intend to find out. The next chapter of this investigation takes us to Hermanus and Grabouw to uncover who's really behind these invasions, what laws are protecting them, and how far does this go? But once again, ladies and gents, I need your help to make this happen, to expose the truth. Please consider donating to the Back a Buddy campaign. And if you prefer EFT, the banking details are in the description and pinned comment. Let's uncover the truth behind South Africa's land grabs together. Comment below and let me know what you think about all this. No matter which platform you're watching this episode on, please drop a like, follow, or subscribe. I've got more content coming your way. And with all that being said, thanks for watching. Your Newsflash is in.
Here you go.
Oh, thank you, honey. And about last night, I just want to say I'm sorry. I said some mean things, and I just want you to know that I hear you, I respect you, and I love you. So.
Oh, thanks, babe. Oh, wait, you don't want to drink that.